I was in real estate practicing in the States, and watched as people made bad choices financially with the largest purchases in most people's life. This happened over and over with individuals and families alike. It made me sick to think that in 3 to 5 years their rates would go variable, and most likely changing for the worse, and that if they did not plan to refinance that rate before then it would be bad news for them. I would tell them think about the flat rate for 15, 20, or 30 years. I would say I know it's a bit more now, but really it is the best choice, but the mortgage brokers would have already sold them the variable rate and made money on both ends of that loan, so it was all but impossible. Only problem was that most never got that chance to refinance. I told them to, over and over again. I would say please, in a year of good payments, refi that loan to a flat rate, even if it is higher than what you got. It is not going to stay that way for you after it's variable. But when that bubble popped, you needed a 700 score to get into the door to talk to a mortgage pro and refinance. I started to dislike my profession because of this and got a bad taste in my mouth. I could see the greed around me, but it was all legal. At that time the greed almost got me through osmosis, and I started catching my thoughts and actions almost mimicking those around me. I was brought up correctly, and I thank my mother and father for that. My office was a very ethical place because of my broker. He was smart and did show me the ropes, but there were always mortgage pros trying to take you to lunch or give you tickets to a game so that you would mention them and their company when you signed the purchase and sales agreement with one of your buyers, or needed a pre-approval letter to get into the door of a listing that was co-brokered. If you were a go-getter like myself, you would be haunted when the multiple listing services numbers would come out, but I would eat. I always will rise to the top, making my office money more than my broker did for his own company. That is his words, not mine. He was proud of his student, he said. That made me feel good for a while. I am strange in more than a few ways, but one of them is I can have it all, and people around me will look up to me when I have nowhere look up to. When all the hard stuff is done, it changes though. I don't understand myself actually. I crumbled at that time, the time it would be easier for most, having the confidence that it could stay that way. I guess if it doesn't challenge me it gets boring, then they're done. That go figure that one out. I still can't. Now I always will blame myself for these things that may have been out of my hands, though with the real estate bubble we all heard it was coming. Maybe if I had done real estate when it was a different time I would have had the correct tools to migrate through the hard times, but when you have 11 deals in purchase and sales contracts and you are used to closing 80% of these contracts, it is tough when all but 3 fall apart in 2.5 months. 8 real estate deals gone, months of hard work down the drain, and those people all did not qualify at all anymore. There was nothing they could do but win the lottery. I could hear my own swan song and went on to an even more trustworthy business selling brand new, pre-owned, used automobiles with AC. That was ice cold always, of course. So I asked, does anyone want to see people win while going up against these banks? A modern day David and Goliath story, in my opinion. You know, the ones that have been scammed and lied to by Goliath. I know I would, instead of the corporations that charge you $7 to cash their own checks and want a fingerprint. Next it will be a strip search without a thank you. When will we learn? When we give away our power. This is what will happen every time. These banksters do nothing but evil for the world. They are scum and use you daily while they look at their next toys to buy. The only way these bastards are beat the ones that threw our families into the streets is when we all say enough is enough. We need to stop mindlessly doing their PR work for them with separation tools they use at the banks or in mainstream media. Their propaganda to divide us like, well, if they couldn't afford it they shouldn't have bought it mentality, and all the credit agencies telling people others are not worthy. You know you are a little more of an individual than this, aren't you? Stop regurgitating others' views, especially when they are from paid actors or individuals with agendas. Have we heard of the LIBOR scandal? Most likely not, because it was suppressed. This is the biggest financial scandal of all time. It came out last year. The mainstream media thought you should think about shooters and hooters instead. That was the banks lying to each other about their own credit scores. Fact, at least 18 of the biggest banks in the world lying. 18 of them. But we are not good enough to leave our credit ratings out when we need a job. Now to get a job you need your credit report. WTF is going on here? Let's have our own thoughts come out of our mouths instead of regurgitating the bank's agendas for them smarty pants. I mean, if you had a dream of having a house for your family and someone told you here it is, wouldn't you take it too? Don't just judge without putting yourself into that situation. And even if you answered no, it is the bank's job to put a loan through underwriting. Fact. This is not the buyer's responsibility fully, and when you have someone whom is from a bank that implied that they were more in the know about finance, they were there to see if you can afford for their investors. They were the pros here, not the people that were buying these homes or refining them. Again, more propaganda so that these banksters keep taking from us with no recourse, until one day, like Thomas Jefferson said, we will wake up homeless on the land our fathers conquered, or something like that.